Greetings and welcome back to room 303, AP English and our Roberts text. We are in the poetic section. We're now going to look at Elaine Terronova's Rush Hour. Terronova, born in 1939, spending most of her life in Philadelphia, won the Pushcart Prize in 2012. And this poem is really a brilliant treatment of domestic abuse, raising all kinds of disturbing questions, in the same way that maybe Ruffke's Papa's Waltz is going to do the same thing, a poem we've spent some time with at learnstrong.net. Let's just read the poem, beginning with, of course, that very first word, odd, the Offering, Rush Hour from 1995. Odd, the baby's scabbed face peering over the woman's shoulder, the little girl at her side with her arm in a cast, wearing a plain taffeta party dress. The woman herself, who is in shorts and sunglasses among commuters in the underground station, her body that sags and tenses at the same time. The little girl has not once moved to touch her or to be touched. Even on the train, she never turns and says, "Mommy?" Sunlight bombs over her blonde head, inclining toward the window. The baby is excited now. "Lou, Lou, Lou, Lou," he calls, a wet crescendo. "He's pulling my hair," the little girl at last cries out. A kind man comes up the aisle to see the baby. He stares at those rosettes of blood and wants to know what's wrong with him. The mother says, "A dog bit him." "Must have been a big dog then." "Oh no, a neighbor's little dog." The man says, "I hope they put that dog to sleep." The woman is nearly pleading. "It was an accident. He didn't mean to do it." The conductor, taking tickets, asks the little girl how she broke her arm. But the little girl looks out to the big, shaded houses. The mother says she doesn't like to talk about that. No one has seen what is behind her own dark glasses. She pulls the children to her. Maybe she is thinking of the arm raised over them, its motion that would begin like a blessing. Now, obviously, the power of this poem is in large measure what is not said, what is only inferred. Again, the opening word of the poem, odd. I'm going to actually, though, begin real quickly with the title of the poem, Rush Hour. The sense of rushing, the sense that people live in a world where, we kind of move beyond and past them and their pain. We think of Alden's Monsieur de Biartz as an exemplar of this. We've commented on this at learnstrong.net. We're incapable maybe of fully appreciating the pain and suffering of another. Notice the speaker of our poem is watching all of this take place. Notice not stepping in and having much to do or say about it. We think of Whitman's I Sit and Look Out. Not getting involved, but trying to understand, and of course providing us with a powerful picture. You know how when we teach you to write good poetry, we say show, don't tell? This is a classic example of this. At no point does the poet-speaker step in and say, "Isn't this terrible, the way that abuse can damage so badly a family, a mother and two children?" Rather, the poet unfolds in really tragic and powerful ways. Two different men, kind man, a conductor, they can't in any way help what is going on. In the same way that tragically often, when we witness the possibility of domestic violence, we're not altogether sure exactly how to respond. Of course, notice how defensive the mother is. Notice the breaking in this poem and the ways in which the first stanza will introduce for us the three major characters, and especially the mother, the woman, who is, at the same time, her body is sagging and tense. We get a sense that's going to set us up for the very final line of the poem, as we'll have to talk about in a moment. Notice the connections or lack of connections between the two, the mother having the two children, but somehow disconnected in profound ways from the children. Notice the kind man who wants to talk about a dog and hoping that the dog maybe is put down. And obviously it's as if the kind man already realizes someone has struck this child and has caused tremendous pain for both of the children and obviously the mother as well. Notice the mother's defending, oh no, and then the double entendre, right? When she says a neighbor's little dog and then the woman nearly pleading, it was an accident. He didn't mean to do it. We know tragically often this is the case, as we have commented in our Robert Browning's treatment of My Last Duchess and Porphyria's Lover, the way that often abuse is handled in this way, to somehow pretend as if that the perpetrator didn't really mean to do it. Finally, of course, when the little girl is asked by the conductor about her arm, she won't respond. Notice she looks out at the big shaded houses. We have obviously some class distinctions that are being made here as well. As we're driving on the train, we're able to see, of course, places where other children get to live, that maybe this kind of abuse doesn't happen as often. Pulling the children to her, of course, is a powerful image. And then the word maybe, which I'm going to argue brilliantly for Terronova, goes with the very first word of the poem, odd. Maybe she's thinking of the arm raised over them. This obviously the indicator of what actually the observer thinks has happened. But then that final line, it's motion that would begin like a blessing, as if, for example, the priest is making the blessing, and maybe the hug that would... an arm being raised doesn't necessarily have to mean violence, and yet it's clear that's exactly what's really going on here. At 2A, obviously, messages here, the profound and disturbing truths of domestic violence. Not only is it sad, but it's complicated, isn't it? And how to help a situation like this is even more troubling. I'm going to point out at 2B that the power of word choice here is going to make this poem so remarkable. And obviously, notice what's said without being said. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. At 3A, we've mentioned a number of titles. Browning's Last Duchess and Porphyria's Lover does come to mind. Rothke's Papa's Waltz as well comes to mind. Finally, at 3B, what are your thoughts about this kind of a situation? I mean, if you were in a situation like this and you had a sense that maybe violence has been perpetrated on all three of them, what do you do? Is there anything you can do? And why is it the case that we continue to struggle with these issues of domestic violence? Of course, it's a serious problem, isn't it, in our culture? Has to be addressed. Terronova's way of addressing it is obviously profound. I hope that you'll be challenged to read more of her amazing poetry. Thank you.